And what's up, internet peoples? Back doing Code Katas. We are on moving zeros to the ends. So what we need to do, we need to write an algorithm that takes an array and moves all the zeros to the end, preserving the order of the other elements. So we're going to get an array like this. It's going to have all sorts of different values in it, false values, numbers, and strings. And what we need to do is we need to move every zero to the end of the array. So it'll end up something like this, with our zeros at the end. Let's open it up in VS Code. Bring our title in. Got our function. And we got our test. What's going on here? Zeros. Oh, this is our expect. Okay, so we need to do. Let me make this a console log. This right here is our expected output. So let's grab that. Let's delete. Let's delete this. Delete that. Bring that in like that. Okay, we'll go ahead and start up Quokka. Let's move our function down so we can actually see our output. So we're getting undefined returns. This is our expected output with all the zeros at the end. So what we're gonna have to do is we need to create an array that has all of our characters except for our zeros. So we'll call that our filtered array. And that's we're gonna go array. We're gonna filter our array. And we're gonna filter out all the zeros. So we'll say where x, or we'll call them nums, or we'll call them x, where x is not equal to 0. So that'll take our array and take all the zeros out of it. And we can see that if we log it here. See? So all zeros are gone from our array. So the next thing we need to do is we need to get the difference from our original array with the zeros and our array without the zeros. So we're going to say let diff equal our array.length, our original array. We need the length of it. We're going to say minus our filter array dot length, and so that'll give us the difference in length between our array with the zeros in it and the array without the zeros in it, and we can log that and see that. So 4. So then the next thing we need to do is not that. We need to create an array of zeros that's the difference length, and then we're going to throw those zeros at the end. So we'll say let 0 equal a new array, and we want it to be the length of our diff, and we want to fill it with zeros. And if we look at that, you'll see that we'll have an array that has 4 zeros in it. See? So all we need to do is add that array of zeros onto our filtered array that doesn't have zeros, and we'll have our answer. So let's return And we're going to use our spread operator for this. And we'll spread out our filter array and our 0. And we'll go ahead and return that. And if you check it out, now we're getting our output with the zeros. So they look like they match up. Cool. So that works. So we're taking our array, removing all the zeros. We're finding out the difference between our original array here and our filtered array. And then we're creating an array of that length, and we're filling it with zeros. And then we're just combining those two arrays together. So let's put it in Code Wars, see what happens. Passed. Let's attempt it. Nice. All tests passed. So let's submit it. Let's check out everybody else's answer. Okay. So they filtered out the zeros. They concatenated it. Right up filter function, and they concatenated it with the array with the zeros. So this is pretty much the same thing we did. They used concat instead of the spread operator. Filtered, concatenated. Cool. All right, let's do our next one. Century from year. So the first century spans from the year 1 up to and including the year 100. The second from year 101 up and including the year 200. Our task is, given a year, we need to return what century it's in. So here's our input and output examples. We'll get 1705. That'll be the 18th century, 1900, 19th century, 1601, 17th century. And so I think what it is, how you get the century is you divide the year by 100. So let's check that out. I think I've solved something like this before. So if we put in, let's say 1705 is our first example here, and we divide it by 100, you see we get 17. So what we're going to need to do is round up. And you can see that if we do it with the even year, like 1900, we get the 19th century. So with the ones that are odd, we're gonna have to round up. Cool. So cool. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and save this one, get out of it, bring our title in. Grab our function. Grab our test. Start with Quokka. So I think what we're going to need to do, we're going to go ahead, so we're getting undefined returns. It's because our code's not doing anything yet. And this is our expected output. So what we're going to do is we're going to return We're going to say math.ceil, because that's going to round whatever answer we get up. And what we're going to do is take our year and divide it by 100. And that's it. Year divided by 100, rounded up, 18, 18, 19, 19, 17, 17. So, simple. And we could do it as a one-liner. We could say let century, and that'll take in our year. And then all we need to do, arrow function has an implicit return, so we don't need to use the return word here, and we can just say math.ceil, and that'll give us the same answer. So we'll go ahead and throw that one into Code Wars. Test it out. Yup. Attempt it. All tests passed. Very cool. Let's submit it. See everybody else's answer. And there you go. We got same exact thing. And I'm thinking that's what everybody is pretty much gonna do. Year plus 99 divided by 100. I don't know what's going on there. So they're checking if it's even right here. If it is, they do it straight up. If it's not, they add 1. Alright, let's move on to the next. Is n divisible by x and y? So we need to create a function that checks if a number n is divisible by 2 numbers, x and y. All inputs are positive and non-zero digits. Cool. So we're gonna be given 3 numbers. We need to check and see if the first number is divisible by the next 2 numbers that we're given. So we can do that. Let's go ahead and save our last one and get rid of it. Title in. Grab our function and grab our test. Let's bring this up a line. It's bugging me. Console logs, Quokka. Getting undefined returned. We need to return false if it's not divisible by both numbers, and we need to return true if it is divisible by both numbers. So the way we're going to do that is we're just going to say if our number n remainder x is equal to 0, that means that there is no remainder when we divide it by x, and that means that it is divisible by it. And if n is if there's no remainder, if n remainder y is equal to 0 also, then that means that it's divisible by both numbers, so we will return true. You can see that some of these are going to pass, the true ones are going to pass. And so if those, if it turns out that x isn't divisible by n or y isn't divisible by n, then we'll get out of this if statement and we will return false. So now you can see false, false, true, true, false, false, true, true. So another way we could do this is a ternary, and we could write this out like we could say let is divisible. You're gonna help me divisible. There we go. And we will take in our n, our x, and our y. Then we'll have our arrow function. And we'll say we have our implicit return, so we don't need to return anything. So then we'll use a ternary. We'll say if n, really I'm just going to copy and paste. We'll use this same logic here. Then we'll say if those are true, then we return true here, or else we return false. And that will do the same thing, but that's a one-liner. Kind of hard to read with all of this. This is probably the better way to go. So let's go ahead and put it in Code Wars, see if it works. Test. Nice. Attempt. Super cool. All right, let's submit. See, this is what we should have done. I always forget to do this. It'll return true by default if these both pass, and false if they don't. So we didn't need to return true or return false. This is the second way we did it with the ternary. Cool. Let's do a couple more. Find the missing letter. So what we need to do is we need to write a method that takes an array of consecutive increasing letters as input and returns the missing letter in the array. You always get a valid array, and it will always be exactly one letter missing. The length of the array will always be at least 2. And the array will always contain letters in only one case, either uppercase or lowercase. So you can see here we get A, B, C, D, and then F. So our missing letter is E. So we need to return E. And same thing here with P. Okay. Think I know how I'm going to go about this. We'll see if it works. Let's go ahead and save our last one. Grab our function. Grab our tests. Cool. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. So now we're getting undefined return. This is our expected output. I think we're gonna have to use char code et, which finds the character code of our letter, and we're gonna have to compare it to the one. These will always have consecutive character codes. So we'll take the character code of B and subtract it from the one behind it. And if that's not equal to 1, then we know there's a missing letter there. So we'll go ahead and return the letter at that character code. So to go about that, the first thing we're going to want to do, I think, is join our... Do we need to join our array? I think so. We'll take our array, and that'll be array.join. That'll join our array together. And see what that looks like if we log it out. So now our array is pushed together instead of having separated letters. And the next thing we're going to need to do is loop through our array. And we're going to want to say array dot length. So what we're gonna say, if our array char code at the character code at we want to go for the second letter first, so we want to say index +1 and this needs to be a capital A so it won't give us errors. And if we say minus the same thing, array dot char code at at our first letter, our index, if when we subtract those two, if it does not equal 1, then we know there's something missing. So what we'll return is a string, and we'll say from char code at, and what we'll return, and this will give us the letter at a certain character code, and that character code we want is array, if we can spell right, and we wanted to get it at the index, and then we want to say +1 to get the next letter. And if you look, we get EE and PP. And I actually don't know if we need to join this. Let's check this out. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we do. Cool. Okay, cool. So that works. But let's see if Code Wars likes it. There might be some weird test. Our first test pass. Let's attempt. Nice. So all tests pass. Let's submit and see how other people did it. I'm sure there'll be some way better answers than that. Okay, so what'd they do? They looked at the first element of the array. They looped through weird stuff going on. This is pretty much what we did. Whoa! They put the whole alphabet in here and they split it. And they used index of. Weird. This is way extra. That's crazy. Okay. One more. Let's find the unique number. So there's an array with some numbers. All numbers are equal except for 1. Try to find it. So we're given an array. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. So we need to find the number that's different. Same thing here is all zeros except for 1. It says it's guaranteed that the array contains at least 3 numbers. The test contains some very huge arrays, so think about performance. So we don't want to loop. We don't want to look at every single letter of the array, I don't think, because then it'll time out. It'll take too long. Okay. So I think I know how we're gonna do this. I don't know if it'll be performant enough to work, but we're gonna give it a shot. Okay, Quokka. So my thought is, so we're getting undefined return. This is our expected output. So my thought is to sort the whole array, and that'll put our different number either at the beginning of the array or at the end of the array. If the different number is less than the other numbers, it'll put it at the beginning. If it's greater than, then it'll put it at the end. So what we'll say is we're going to take our array and we're going to make it equal to our array dot sort. So now if we look at our array, if we log it out, we can see that our arrays are sorted. 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 10, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the first two digits of our array. If they're the same, then we know that our different digit is at the end of the array. If they're different, then we know that our digit is the first element in the array. So what we'll do is we'll say if array at 0, at 0, which is our first element in the array, is equal to array at 1, which is our second element in the array. If those are equal, then we know that our different element is at the end. So we'll return array, and we want to return the last element, so we'll say array length minus 1. You can see two of our tests are already passing. And if those two aren't equal, then we know our different element is the first element in the array. So we'll return array at 0, and that fixes our last test that wasn't passing. Cool. So that works. And we could say, I mean, we can make this a one-liner. We'll go ahead and leave it like this for now. Okay, let's throw in Code Wars, see if it works. Test it. Okay, let's attempt it. See, this is where it might time out. It's going to throw in some really big arrays, so this might take too long. Nice. It scared me for a second. So that's cool. So they all pass. Let's submit and see what other people did. Sometimes these things take forever. Cool. So yeah, they sorted. If array, the first two elements are equal to each other, array.pop, or else array, that'll take it off the end, or else array at 0. Cool. All right, so that's it for today. Hope everybody has a great day. Peace.